To all the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. This is Chinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi from Charlotte, welcoming all of you to the mid-morning Bhakti Sangha Japa session. I thank each one of you for attending today's session. It is time for us to move on to the next part of the program, which is class on Chaitanya Bhagavat. But before that, may I know who all have joined today's call so that we can greet you.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from College Station, Texas. Happy Ekadasi to everyone.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji, for joining today's call, and happy Ekadashi to you too, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devi Das from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji. So nice to see you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much, Mataji, for all your services, and welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Chinmayi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances, Jai Shri Prabhupada. This is Preeti Vilasini Devidasi from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji, for all your services, and welcome to the call. And thank you once again for the beautiful recitation of Bhagavad Gita, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Anita Ramya from Sharjah. I thought Preeti Vilasini Mataji had something to say.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you, Mataji, for all your services, and welcome to the call. What was that, Mataji? I did not understand. Preeti Vilasini Mataji has something to say.
No, nothing, Mataji. I thought she unmuted, so I thought she had something to say.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't understand.
Sorry, yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Neetu from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day, and welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and the assembled devotees. This is Revati from Atlanta, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Revati Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Welcome to the call, and thank you so much, Mataji, for joining every day and your beautiful chanting. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Radhika, Vallabh Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for giving today's call. Before I hand over the call to you, I would like to read Srila Prabhupada's quote for today. The quote is, "How one can attain that platform of purity? Krishna says that one who is engaged in devotional service to me without any deviation. That means 24 hours in Krishna consciousness, he is pure. He is pure. If you can keep yourself always, constantly in Krishna consciousness, always thinking of Krishna, then you are pure." This was said by His Divine Grace at Seattle on September 25th. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today's class on Chaitanya Bhagavat will be given by His Grace Radhika Vallabh Prabhuji. We are all very fortunate to hear from Prabhuji. Prabhuji will be talking on Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Khanda, 3rd chapter, from verses 101 to 107. So please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. And we are all eagerly waiting to hear from you. Please take over, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The power is not there. Thank you very much, Madhya. Thank you very much for all the devotees who come for this Caitanya Bhagavata class. I will begin the class with the Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Vindhaya Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashadakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are reading from Caitanya Bhagavata, Madhya Khanda, chapter 3, text number 101 to 107. Swamihina Devabhuti Janani Chadiya Chalila Kapila Prabhu Nirapekshahaya Vyasahena Vaishnava Janaka Chadi Shuka Chalila Ulati Nahi Chahile Namuka Kachihena Janani Chadiya Ekakini Chalilena Nirapekshahaya Nyasimani परमार्थे ए त्याग कबु न है ये सकल कथा मुझे कोण महाशये ये सकल लीला जीव उद्धार कारणे महाकाष्ट द्रव्येन इहार श्रवणे येन पिता हाराय्य श्री रघुनंदने निर्भरेषु निलेताः कांदीय यवने येन मते गृहचाडी नित्यानंद राय Swanubhavanande Tirtha Brahmiya Vedaya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur. Lord Kapila displayed indifference by leaving behind his widowed mother. Shukadeva left behind such a great Vaishnava father as Vyasadeva without even looking back at his face. The crest jewel of sannyasis displayed indifference by leaving behind his helpless mother Shachi. On the spiritual platform, such renunciation is not renunciation. Only a few great personalities can understand this topic. These pastimes are all meant for the deliverance of the living entities. Even wood melts by hearing such topics. On hearing about Dasharatha's lamentation after sending away his son Ram, even the Yavanas cry profusely. In this way, Lord Nityananda left home and travelled to the holy places out of his own sweet will. Purport: when Kapila's father left for his own abode, Lord Kapila displayed indifference by leaving his afflicted mother Devahuti. Shukadeva displayed indifference by leaving his father Mahatma Vyasa in spite of his repeated calls. Shachi Nandana took sannyas in order to display indifference by leaving his helpless, unsupported mother. And in order to deliver the fallen souls in the same way, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is non-different from Mula Sankarshana Baladev, enacted the pastime of visiting the holy places out of his own spiritual ecstasy. Ordinary people cannot immediately understand the importance and necessity of such renunciation for spiritual progress. The living entity's eternal constitutional duty is cultivation of Krishna consciousness, which is the ultimate goal of spiritual life. In comparison to this, severe renunciation cannot be given much importance. Only those who are advanced in spiritual life can understand that Nityananda Prabhu's leaving behind such an affectionate father and mother for another purpose was most reasonable and necessary. Dasharatha's lamentation due to separation from his son Ramachandra overwhelms even the hearts of the Yavanas. Even the hardest hearts of intoxicated materialists are softened with the transcendental mellows while hearing these topics. The word nirbhare means completely or excessively. The second line of the verse 106 indicates that even Yavanas cry profusely when they hear such topics. The word Swanubhavanande means in its own spiritual bliss. Hare Krishna. We are reading a very intense section from the Caitanya Bhagavata, Madhya Khanda. A sannyasi came to Eka Chakra, and this sannyasi is taking away Nityananda Prabhu along with him, the holy places. And the whole town of Eka Chakra, Hadai Pandit, Padmavati, parents of Nityananda Prabhu, the whole town of Nityananda Prabhu, the whole town of Eka Chakra, for them, Nityananda Prabhu is the life and soul. And Nityananda Prabhu left them. They all drowned in an unimaginable sorrow, a spiritual sorrow, in separation from Nityananda Prabhu. Previously, many years, during Nityananda Prabhu appearance day or during Mayapur Yatra, in Eka Chakra, he would narrate this actually story, and it would be a completely sobering experience. The way he would describe the state of the residents of Eka Chakra and what Hadai Pandit and Padmavati went through when Nityananda Prabhu left there, never to return again. So it is something, the feelings which they went through is unimaginable. They went through deep spiritual sorrow. It's a form of spiritual ecstasy, but They went through that. So therefore here, Vrindavan Das Thakur in these verses is giving many examples from the Shastra. Kardama Muni, after Kapila was born, Kardama Muni left home. And then Kapila spoke to Devahuti about Sankhya Yoga. And then after instructing Devahuti, then Kapila Dev also left behind his mother, widowed mother. But Kardama Muni has not died, but practically speaking, Kardama Muni took sannyas. Devahuti is like a widowed mother. But although Devahuti had no other shelter, because all the other daughters got married to different rishis and they went to the different places. So from one point of view, it may appear that how can Kapila Dev leave behind his mother who had no other shelter? Shukadeva Goswami, as soon as he took birth, he immediately went to the forest. Vyasadeva performed great austerities to beget Shukadeva Goswami, to beget a son to whom he can teach Srimad Bhagavata. But as Shukadeva Goswami was not coming out for 16 years, but as soon as he came out, he immediately went to the forest. And Vyasadeva went after him and he was calling him, "Oh son, please come back, please come back." But Shukadeva Goswami did not return. Yam prabrajantam anupetam apeta krityam Vaipayano viraha katara ajubhava Putreti tanmayataya taravo vinetu tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimana kusmi. Suta Goswami is offering obeisance to Shukadeva Goswami by saying that I offer my obeisance to Shukadeva Goswami, who is liberated from the birth, who did not undergo any purificatory ceremony, and who went to the forest immediately after the birth. And when Vyasadeva called out for him, only the trees responded to the calls of Vyasadeva, and Shukadeva Goswami did not return. To that Shukadeva Goswami offered obeisance. Just like Shukadeva Goswami entered into the minds of the trees and spoke to Vyasadeva, similarly, I pray that Shukadeva Goswami may enter the mind of a dull person like me and speak through me Srimad Bhagavatam in order to answer these questions of the sages assembled over here. That is the mood of the prayer of Suta Goswami. So here also it may appear very strange, although Vyasadeva was repeatedly calling for Shukadeva Goswami, why did Shukadeva Goswami not return? It appears like a very hard-hearted renunciation, it may appear like. And Caitanya Mahaprabhu is called as Balaka Shiromani, he is called as Sarvagya Shiromani, he is called as Matru Bhakta Shiromani, and he is also called as Nyasi Shiromani, the crest jewel of sannyasis. And he also left behind his widowed, helpless mother and his wife. It may appear very cruel from a material point of view. Also so, when great souls, and here in this case, Nityananda Prabhu went along with that sannyasi, never to return again to Ekachakra. So, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, Nityananda Prabhu in big side. So, but in these pastimes, when we see in these great personalities, when they renounce, although they cause pain to their near and dear ones, but that the purpose of renunciation is for the larger benefit of the society in general and for all time of the conditioned souls in the future. in order to propagate spiritual knowledge, in order to propagate Krishna consciousness. So therefore, for a larger purpose, they actually took renunciation. That is what is mentioned here. And even the wood will melt by hearing such topics. Even when Lord Ram went to the forest, Dashrath Maharaj was lamenting. And even the Yavanas will cry by hearing the lamentation of Dashrath Maharaj. There is one famous freedom fighter. Don't recollect his name. Freedom fighter in India recently also some anniversary or something. He underwent, like, Britishers literally tortured him by putting in some Andaman jail. So this freedom fighter, he went through so much of sufferings in the jail. Sometimes when a person goes through intense suffering, a person becomes an atheist also. So this person, like, he declared himself as an atheist. He went through intense suffering. But even this person, when he heard, when he was watching the Ramayana drama, when he was seeing the Ramayana drama, Dashrath Maharaj's lamentation in separation from Lord Ram, even this person who declared himself as an atheist, he actually started crying on the stage. So that is how these pastimes, they have the power to melt even the atheists or the hardest of the hard-hearted people, or even the Yavanas, their hearts will melt by hearing such pastimes. So we can see the purpose of such renunciation is for the larger benefit of the people. So I'll discuss on the topic of renunciation something. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says that Jnana Vairagya Yor Bhakti Praveshaya Upayogita Ishat Prathamam Eveti Nangatvam Uchitam Tayoho. He says that a tiny bit of knowledge and renunciation are useful for entering into bhakti. That too in the very beginning. Therefore, Jnana and Vairagya, they are not considered as a limbs of bhakti. And Jiva Goswami says in the purport, Bhakti Pravishtasya Vairagyam Chitta Katinya Hetutaya Heyatvenoktam. For a person who has entered into bhakti, the over cultivation of renunciation is to be rejected because it will make a person's heart hard. And also Rupa Goswami says that Nivrittanu Payogitvad Duruhatvad Ayam Rasaha. The Madhurya Rasa is unfit to be relished by those who are overly detached. Again, Jiva Goswami says, Nivritteshu Prakrita Shringara Rasa Samadrishtya Bhagavatad Api Asmad Rasad Virakteshu Anupayogitvad Ayogyatvad. Among those who are detached, there are individuals who think of all Madhurya Rasa as being similar to mundane romance. Therefore, such individuals stay away from Madhurya Rasa even if it is given in the Bhagavatam. Such renunciants are ineligible. So here these verses, they talk about how actually renunciation is useful only in the beginning of bhakti. Therefore, it is not a limb of bhakti. And those who are overly detached, they will not be able to appreciate the Madhurya Rasa. So here, the renunciation exhibited by Shukdev Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Ram, Kapila Dev, they are all for the purpose of actually benefiting the larger people, larger society. So when you see the topic of renunciation, the different scriptures, For example, Mahabharata. What is the mood of Mahabharata? Dharmecha, artecha, kamecha, mokshecha, bharatarushava. Yadi hasti tadanyatra, yenne hasti natat kvachit. Mahabharata describes 4 topics: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Whatever you will find in all other scriptures in relation to these 4 topics, you will definitely find in Mahabharata. Whatever you will not find in Mahabharata, you cannot find in any other scripture. Mahabharata is like all encompassing scripture on dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And about Ramayana, it is said, Sadidam vartayishyava sarvam nikilam aditaha dharma kamartha sahitam shrotavyam anasuyaya. So dharma kamartha sahitam. Ramayana has 3 topics: dharma, kama, and artha. Moksha is described in the Ramayana like an undercurrent in the background. Moksha is coming in the background of Ramayana. Dharma, artha, kama, 3 topics are described in the Ramayana. And when we talk about Srimad Bhagavatam, so Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Charitamrita is different from Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is basically the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and also like Bhagavatam. And what is the mood of Srimad Bhagavatam? Adi Madhyavasaneshu Vairagyakhyana Samyutam Harilila Katha Vrata Mritanandita Saturam Sarva Vedanta Saram Yat Brahmat Maikatva Lakshanam Vast Advitiyam Tannishtam Kaivalyaika Prayojanam. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations that encourage renunciation of material life. In the beginning, middle, and end. Adi, Madhya, Avasaneshu. And as well as not only renunciation of material life, as well as Harilila Katha Vrata. Nectarian accounts of Lord Hari's pastimes. Mrita Nandita Satsuram, which gives ecstasy, which gives great bliss to the hearts of the devotees. So Srimad Bhagavatam, in one sense, we see the beginning, middle, and end, it is talking about Hari Leela and the subject of renunciation. So that is why sometimes Srimad Bhagavatam is little heavy for a person to hear, actually. Maybe especially for a person who wants to improve his comforts in this world, Srimad Bhagavatam is little heavy to hear. Ramayana, Mahabharata will be easier for a person to, they may be easily able to relate, especially for a person who has many goals to achieve in this world in relation to Dharma, Artha, Kama. So, and also another verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Kata imaste katita mahiyasam vitaya lokeshu yashapare yusham Vijnana Vairagya Vivakshaya Vibho Vacho Vibhutir Natu Paramartyam. In this shloka, it is said, Sukadeva Goswami says that I have related to you the narrations of all these great kings who spread their fame throughout the world and then departed. But my real purpose of speaking all these stories of the different kings is to teach transcendental knowledge, Vijnana, and to teach renunciation, Vairagya, and Vacho Vibhutir Natu Paramartyam. The stories of the kings lend power and opulence to these narrations, but they do not in themselves constitute the ultimate aspect of knowledge. So we see that Srimad Bhagavatam contains many stories of the different kings, and the purpose of this narration of these stories is to again to teach transcendental knowledge and to teach renunciation. About Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is a verse which is composed by Sarvam Bhattacharya, if I remember properly. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam Sikshartameka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradari Kripam Buddhir. I forget the last line. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in order to teach Vairagya Vidya and Nija Bhakti Yoga. He appeared in order to teach Vairagya and devotional service to Krishna. So in that way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood is also in line with the mood of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vijnana Vairagya Vivakshaya Vibho. So sometimes we see the Srimad in this particular verse in the 12th canto. Vacho Vibhutir Natu Paramartyam, it is mentioned. Vacho Vibhutir Natu Paramartyam, it means that these stories about the kings are merely a display of eloquence and they have no bearing on the absolute truth. These stories are merely a display of eloquence. That means some of the details in the stories of the kings may not be taken literally. May not be taken literally. The stories of the kings are spoken with the purpose of teaching renunciation and transcendental knowledge. That is the purpose. So, Vacho Vibhutir Natu Paratyaman, the stories are merely a display of eloquence, which implies that not everything in the story is to be taken literally. Sometimes certain facts are exaggerated in order to make the description appear very attractive, in order to make the description appear very extraordinary and wonderful. For example, in the story of Chitraketu Maharaj, it is described that Chitraketu Maharaj had 10 million wives. He had 10 million wives. But although he had 10 million wives, he could not beget any progeny in them. So if we take this 10 million wives literally, if we try to imagine, in order to marry 10 million wives, if he marries one wife per day, it would take him 27,397 years. He married one wife a day. So it is, practically speaking, it is a very difficult to conceive with our mind. And Chitraketu Maharaj married for the purpose of getting a child. So definitely he might have married a woman and then he might have tried to procreate through the woman, waited for some time, and then he might have married a second woman. So in that sense, to marry 10 million wives, it would have taken many thousands of years actually. It would be lakhs of years. So it is little, from our mind point of view, it is practically impossible. So here we have to understand that such details mentioned in these descriptions are like a poetic description, which is a characteristics of a kavya. And Bhagavatam has elements of kavya. A poet called as Shemadri, he writes about Bhagavatam. Veda Puranam Kavyam cha Prabhur Mitram Priyevacha Bodayanti iti Hipragus Trivrit Bhagavatam Punaha. So the Vedas, Puranas, and Kavyas instruct a living entity like a master, friend, and a beloved, respectively. But the Srimad Bhagavatam instructs the living entities like all these, in all these three methods. Sometimes like a master speaking to a servant in a straightforward manner, sometimes in a friendly tone like a Purana speaking, sometimes like a lover speaking to the beloved, that means in the language of the Kavya. So in the Kavyas, one of the uniqueness of the Kavya is that there are many alankaras are used in the Kavya. A book called Sahitya Darpana talks about different types of alankaras. So one of the type of alankara is called as Atishayokti Alankara. So Atishayokti Alankara means a hyperbole or an expression involving exaggeration. So So there are many examples for that, but basically sometimes it's an exaggerated statement. That is an Atishayokti Alankara. So here Chitraketu Maharaj marrying 10 million wives, it is a type of Atishayokti Alankara. The intention of the statement about Chitraketu Maharaj's 10 million wives is basically to show the intensity of King Chitraketu's desire to have a son. The purpose of the story of Chitraketu Maharaj is what? Vijnana Vairagya Vivakshaya, in order to teach renunciation and transcendental knowledge in the mind of the reader. So that the details 10 million may not be taken literally, but the purpose is to teach renunciation. So generally, a human being has got three kinds of desires. Three chief desires. Desire for pleasure, desire for a good future life, and desire to have a good progeny. But none of them can be completely satisfied, and that is what we see in the story of Chitraketu Maharaj. The king is unable to fulfill his desire for good progeny. Angira Rishi blessed him that he would have a son called as Harshashoka. But he got a son, but the son died. So we see, so in the Atishoy, here, the suggested meaning in the story of Chitraketu Maharaj is that he was not able to fulfill his desire of wanting to have a son, even with 10 million wives, and thus remained dissatisfied. If with 10 million wives he could not get a son, how can an ordinary person be satisfied in material life who may have only one wife? So Chitraketu Maharaj was a king, and he was frustrated even after his desire was fulfilled. So the wife in this story signifies a means to satisfy one's desire. And Chitraketu Maharaj had 10 million means, but still, and he had one desire, that is to have a son. But although he had 10 million instruments or a means to fulfill that one desire, but still he could not fulfill that one desire with the 10 million means. But in this world, a person may have many desires, but he may have only one means. If a person with 10 million means, he could not fulfill his one desire, how can a person fulfill his many desires when he has very limited means? In that way, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually teaching the subject of renunciation. So, of course, taking the expression that 10 million wives means Atishayukti Alankara, it does not mean that Chitraketu Maharaj did not have any real wife. Definitely, Chitraketu Maharaj had many wives. But what we are saying is that maybe the 10 million number is little exaggerated. It is the Atishayukti Alankara that is spoken for the purpose of teaching renunciation. And also, 1 minute. So, and also in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, wife is compared to a intelligence in the story of Puranjana, spoken by Narada to Prachina Parishat. In that, the Puranjani is compared to the intelligence. So, the 10 million wives of King Chitraketu can also denote the different mental states. these different mental states. So, in the 29th chapter of the 4th canto, it is described that Puranjani is compared to the intelligence. So there are 10, when we talk about the mentals, each mental state produces different desire. And in a living entity, there are actually many thousands and millions of mental states, and each mental state produces different desires. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.11.11, when Jadabharat was instructing King Rahuguna, Jadabharat was saying that Dravya Swabhava Shayakarma Kalair Eka Dashami Manaso Vikara Sakasrasha Shatasha Kotishascha Kshetrajnato Namito Nasvatasyu. So because of the variations in materials, natures, antakarana, karma and time, the 11 transformations of the mind become hundreds, thousands and millions. And then they become unlimited, not by themselves or their combined strength, but by the power of the Paramatma. So this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam shows that the mind actually produces millions of mental states. Millions of mental states, and each mental state produces different desire. So therefore, the conclusion of the Chitraketu Maharaj story is that Chitraketu Maharaj having 10 million wives, it shows that one cannot become materially satisfied trying to fulfill one's unlimited desires. A satisfaction or fulfillment can be experienced only if these mental vrittis, mental states are surrendered unto the Supreme Lord, are used in his service. And this is exactly what Chitraketu Maharaj did later on. When he surrendered his mental state and focused on Krishna, then he became completely satisfied. So, and if we also see how this topic of renunciation comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, when it talks about renunciation, renunciation is always related to Krishna Bhakti. It's not some dry renunciation. Real renunciation is to understand Krishna as the proprietor and to live the life according to that principle. So that is actually true renunciation. So in the, for example, other stories in the Bhagavatam, a few examples I'll give and then we'll end. If we see the story of Kardama Muni and Shaubari Muni. The story of Kardama Muni in the 3rd canto, chapter 23, there is an elaborate description of Kardama Muni going along with Devahuti to different holiday spots in the whole universe. And there is an elaborate description. Then after Devahuti gave birth to the children, and Kardama Muni was suddenly about to leave the house. And Kardama Muni was about to leave the house, Devahuti was completely surprised, and she says that Indriyarteshu sajjantya prasangas tvayime kritaha ajanantya parambhavam tatapyastu abhayayame. I associated with you while being attached to enjoyment and not knowing your superior condition as a devotee with great detachment. Still, you should give me fearlessness. So Devahuti, she is saying that I associated with you by remaining attached to material enjoyment. So now I am realizing that you are such a great person with you are such a great devotee with great detachment. And then she says that she says that I have been thoroughly cheated with illusory potency. She speaks a very famous verse that I have been thoroughly cheated with illusory potency. Because of that, I'm supposed to by the association of a sadhu like you, I should have attained liberation. I should be seeking liberation, but instead it utilized your association for the purpose of my material sense gratification. Like that, when Devahuti saw the renunciation of Kardama Muni, that inspired Devahuti to develop a spirit of detachment. So in the life of Kardama Muni, although Kardama Muni was going with Devahuti, performing his duty as a husband to satisfy the desires of a wife by taking her to different holiday spots. But Kardama Muni internally maintained a spirit of detachment. Because internally he maintained a spirit of detachment, and at the right time, he externally exhibited a spirit of detachment. Raga Dvesha Vimuktaistu Vishayan Indriyaischaran Atmavashyir Videyatma Prasadam Adhigacchati. A Sita Prajna, self-realized person, he engages his mind and senses with the sense objects, but free from attachment and repulsion. Means internally he has a spirit of detachment with a controlled mind. So that is how Kardama Muni, he actually, although he was enjoying with Devahuti, but internally he was detached. This principle is called as Bhavataha Parityaga. Bhavata Parityaga means a person like a Grahastha here, Kardama Muni, he is enjoying sense gratification by following the principles of Dharma, but with a spirit of detachment within one's mind. That is Bhavata Parityaga. And the example cited here in today's verse, Kapila Dev, Shukadeva Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. So they exhibited what is called as Swarupata Parityaga. Swarupata Parityaga means that a person internally he is detachment, and externally also he does not, he completely abstains from sense objects. That Swarupata Parityaga is practiced by the people in the renounced order. And a Grahastha who is also, he practices Bhavata Parityaga. And when he practices Bhavata Parityaga, in spirit, he is also like a sannyasi only. So Kardama Muni exhibited Bhavata Parityaga while remaining detached within, he was going with Devahuti to different places. And finally, when he exhibited the detachment externally, that inspired in Devahuti with a spirit of detachment. And another example, we see Shaubari Muni. Shaubari Muni, for many, many years, he was performing austerities under the water all alone. But although he was performing austerities all alone under the water, internally he had some attachment within his mind. Because of that certain egoistic attachment, he committed an offense to Garuda. And when he committed an offense to Garuda, he lost the power to control his senses. So he easily got agitated by seeing the mating of two fishes. And then he ended up marrying the 50 daughters of King Mandata. And when he married the 50 daughters of Mandata, he exhibited mystic siddhis, and he constructed separate palaces in order to and enjoyed Grihastha ashram with the 50 daughters, 50 wives. And by seeing the opulences of Shaubari Muni, King Mandata, who was the emperor of Saptadvipa, he became detached by seeing the opulence of Shaubari Muni. And then, so we see every story in the Srimad Bhagavatam that has the theme of Krishna Bhakti and the spirit of detachment. In the Kardama Muni story, Kardama Muni inspired Devahuti. Kardama Muni inspired the spirit of detachment in Devahuti. In Shaubari Muni story, Shaubari Muni's enjoyment inspired detachment in the mind of King Mandata. King Mandata felt, I am the emperor of the Saptadvipa, but I don't have such opulences like the Shaugari Muni. And by seeing his opulences, he became detached actually. I'm too insignificant in compared to him. And then he renounced. So in that way, we see that every story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, not only because I see Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavata, also like an extension of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this also we see the spirit of detachment and Krishna Bhakti. Not spirit of detachment, Chaitanya, and the 18th chapter, Krishna speaks about renunciation and Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. But the detachment is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is a transcendental spirit of detachment because it is directly connected with Krishna Bhakti and is directly connected with the distribution of Krishna Bhakti to the society, to the larger society. Therefore, it is a transcendental renunciation, transcendental sannyasa. So this theme comes throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, throughout the different stories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the spirit of detachment and transcendental knowledge are taught through the stories of the different kings. Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavata, they are narrated, the same thing is taught through the different devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are not kings, but who are like common people, common, say, householders, different devotees in this world. But the same thing is being taught. That is why in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a verse which says that the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vairagyera Pradana, they exhibit a great Vairagya. And the Vairagya is connected with the serving Krishna. So these are some points which I wanted to share today. I don't know how much it is related to what we are discussing, but it's something to share. So I'll stop here. So if anybody has any questions or anybody wants to comment anything, we can share.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, what a beautiful class. You talked about detachment and renunciation, such a deep analysis, how Srimad Bhagavatam, different personalities you brought about, Chitraketu, Kardama Muni, Shaubhari Muni, and you also told how the spirit of detachment is emphasized in the term of themes in Srimad Bhagavatam and stories in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. So a very beautiful class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Very grateful to you for the class. Hare Krishna, dear. Please, if you have any questions or realizations, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. It was a very, very interesting class, very nice perspective on what real renunciation is. And the emphasis that if you have bhakti, separate endeavor for renunciation is not needed, it has to come automatically. So very, very nice, and that through the story of Chitraketu Maharaj and so many other anecdotes, very nicely emphasized, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. It was a very interesting.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in my life, I find it a real challenge to be simultaneously detached while being attached. These are waves, they come waves where I can do it. Mentally I can be detached, but then other waves come where I'm not able to mentally detach. Being a woman, it's you have that loving tendency to love your family, your children, your grandchildren, simultaneously knowing, of course, at the back of your mind that you're not the proprietor, you're not the enjoyer. Maybe I'm still evolving, and maybe you could guide me into saying something which could help me in my further evolution in being detached as well as attached.
Yeah, we have to bring the Krishna element in everything. when you are in the family, it is natural to show affection to the family members, children, grandchildren. We show the affection at the same time. Internally has a spirit of detachment. We don't have to externally stop showing affection. We should take care of the family members, show affection, and try to bring Krishna in the center of everything. And reading, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, that helps us to maintain, that helps us to develop a spirit of detachment within our mind. So that is why I mentioned Bhavataka Parityaga, Swarupata Parityaga. So Bhavata Parityaga, in one sense, it is more difficult than Swarupata Parityaga. Swarupata Parityaga is completely going away from the different objects of maybe one's different relations or different sense objects. That is Swarupata Parityaga, which is displayed in the renounced order. But Bhavata Parityaga is more difficult. That means you are in the society, you are within the family, you are actually working, you are earning money, you are having the children, but still, despite being in the midst of everything, but still maintain a spirit of detachment within. And that is why Kardama Muni is so glorious. Kardama Muni went with Devahuti to so many places all over the universe, but still he had a spirit of detachment within his mind. So that is even more, much more difficult than Swarupata Parityaga. But these ideals are there in the Shastra. Yeah, we as a practitioner, we are actually trying to practice. All of us, we have our own limitations, different deficiencies may be there, but one can make a step-by-step progress. One can make step-by-step progress, and so one has to be basically utsaha, nichaya, dhairya, with enthusiasm, patience, and have faith, and with a regular hearing of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, and also when we try to help others, when we try to meet others and help others, that also brings, that also sobers us. Actually, yesterday I went to one village near in Tamil Nadu, one place 2 days back during Radhashtami. So there was a person who went, who in an accident, his spine got damaged, and when the spine got damaged, the lower portion of his body lost all sensation. And at that time, he realized that what is the importance of the spine. Like, he will not have any sensation of when to pass urine, when to actually pass stool. He lost all sensation. So then he actually felt that I should help similar people who have whose spine has got damaged during the accidents. So then he started helping them through the NGOs. And then for the Radhashtami program, he actually invited many people from the Trichy district for that, whose spine got damaged. And then he was explaining what these people go through in their life. So these people, they don't know when to pass urine, because they have to, all the time they have to carry some urine bag along with them, and they travel in a specially made vehicle, some specially made wheelchair. Wherever they go, they travel in that only. And most of these people, once their spine gets damaged, the other partner, they leave them and then they stay alone. So such people, they lose hope in their life, like that he was explaining. So when I met them, then I could appreciate. You could appreciate, at least I am having all my different bodily parts are working properly. How much I should be grateful to the Lord. So I was feeling that when we meet different people, when we try to help others, And that also sobers us, that also helps us to maintain some balanced disposition, and helps us to develop the detachment. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji, so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for that very nice question. And thank you, Prabhuji. A very practical answer. Thank you so much. Everybody else?
Hare Krishna.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranama, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class. So, Prabhuji, you were talking about the atheist person, like, he had so much of suffering because of that he became atheist. And then why he got the tears in eyes when he saw Lord Ram is suffering, and what is, like, when we are suffering, how we should take it, Prabhuji?
What I mentioned was that how these stories of Lord Ram going to the forest or Nityananda Prabhu leaving the house, these stories have the power to melt the hearts of even the atheists or the Yavanas. Although this person was an atheist, but when he was seeing the drama of Ramayana, and by seeing these different scenes in the Ramayana drama, he started crying in the stage. Although like he declared himself an atheist because of the suffering. So that is the power of these stories. That is the point I mentioned. The devotees, devotees can, when they hear these stories, it draws the devotee more closer to the Supreme Lord.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very beautiful class.
Prabhuji, also I was wondering about Mandata, like when he realized that he's so insignificant, and then he got detached. But this detachment is without bhakti, right? So how long will this detachment be sustainable?
Yeah, initially, say suppose a person may develop detachment, and then when he takes up the right process, I began this class by saying that Jnana and Vairagya, they are helpful to some extent in the beginning of bhakti. But initially it may be helpful, and when he maintains a detachment by taking the proper sadhana, bhakti marga, then he can actually maintain the spirit of detachment. Otherwise, it can become like a smashan vairagya. Temporarily.
Right. Thank you.
Shall we end here?
Yep. Thank you, Matajis, for the questions. Yes, Prabhu, if there are no more questions or realizations, with your permission, we'll end today's call. Let's pay our obeisances to all the Vaishnavas assembled here and to Prabhuji. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo
namo.
Antakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Pad ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Radhika Vallabh ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna.
Wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Oh, once again. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll close the call here. Hari Bol.